Hey, this is Lena Phelan, the polyamorous librarian. I am not having the best week. I got a migraine while I was on my exercise bike, something I do fairly regularly. It was probably the weather that set it off, but I was really mad about it. And I still don't feel well. I don't feel like I'm, tethered to my sense of whatever, the thing that makes me less dizzy. My baseline dizziness rather than, extra. But I really wanted to talk about these two books. And I'm going to keep looking down at my notes because one of the books, the first book that I want to talk about today is a retelling. And when I was in high school, I first learned about the book that it's based on. And my teacher pronounced it very differently. And I had to write down how it was pronounced to try to make sure that I wasn't pronouncing it the way that he did. So anyway, the first book that I want to talk about is Kaikeyi, which is a retelling of the Ramayana. Because he said Ramayana every single time. And every time I was, before I read the book, I was like, oh, how do you say all the names? Which, I figured a lot of them were pretty phonetic, but a lot of words in English tend to emphasize the second to last syllable. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to fuck this up. I'm gonna put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Let's look some stuff up. And I put on the first video that was talking about the mythology. And I'm like, Ramayana? Ramayan. Huh, okay. Well, I mean, not surprising. I was taught by a man who was really only there to coach football. So anyway, the author's name is Vaishnavi Patel. Incredibly talented writer. I believe that this is her first book. I think this is her debut. She's also a law student. For God's sakes, woman, stop being so talented. This is hurting my feelings. But yeah, so this book has been compared to Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a retelling of the Odyssey, which my book club read recently. I don't know, last year, year before, I don't know what is time anymore. And which I really, really loved. I thought it was just absolutely beautiful. And I do see why they're making all these comparisons. I don't think that the writing is a one-to-one. I don't think that the writing is as I want to say lyrical, but I'm not sure that's really what I mean. It's not as moody and atmospheric, it's not that. That's not why it's the same. It has that same, they say feminist retelling, but it also has that same heart of trying to, a character who is trying to truly be herself in a world that doesn't necessarily want her to. And to take a character who is as the author says, the wicked stepmother of the story, and try to place her in the center is really interesting. Now, I don't remember this character, which is not surprising. The classes that I've been through, where we've gone through, these mythologies, have been brief. These sections have been brief compared to how much Greek mythology I've been taught, how many plays I've read that reference Greek mythologies and all this other stuff. And so I can't tell you all the names of all the characters off the top of, now I can for this anyway. but I was I remembered some of them, and then I was like, oh shoot, do I remember them because I remember them from like learning them, or do I really remember them from like Christopher Pike writing the vampire series, which was like fudge. I really don't want it to be that, but it might kind of be that. Shoot. Anyway, but this book is really great. It it takes you through years, but you don't but the pacing's really great for something that takes you through years. It is not like it like you feel the weight of those years, but you don't feel like you're dragging through them. Like it's not a fast-paced book, but I read it very quickly. Like if it were a faster paced book, you would not feel the weight of the years, and if it were a slower paced book, it would not be as enjoyable as it is. Does that make sense? And I really feel sympathy for like every character, which I think is really, really interesting. I've been reading some of the reviews from like just general readers, not like actual like lit reviews, because I don't necessarily think in a case like this, reading literature reviews is going to be where my interest is. So I want to read reviews by people who are Indian, who grew up with these stories. And I've seen a lot of interesting takes on like what people loved about it and what they didn't love about it. And I thought that that was really, really cool to see that that like big variation in like why people like it's not like people weren't like, I hate this because it's, you know, like I'm Indian and it's a terrible retelling because it's like badly written. Nobody says that. They're like, I don't like it because it does this with this story. I don't like that. Like to me, that's like kind of, I think, what you would want. It's like, oh yeah, we can argue like how I told this story, like how I chose to tell the story all day, as long as you're not like picking apart my writing, right? But I thought that that was sort of an interesting thing to do as well, which is to go and like look at what people are saying who grew up with that. One of the things that I really enjoyed about it was the dynamic between the wives. I think that that is something that we don't get to see very much in other literature at all. I think that it was one of my favorite things about the book, and I'm not going to tell you more because I really want you to read it, but I will tell you that as somebody who calls herself the polyamorous librarian, I was having a good time. But there's also magic and love, and there's also an asexual character. I don't want to say who, but it's a big freaking deal. It's a huge part of the book. But it's not, you know, like, and here's an asexual character, and you know, we're gonna make it modern. It's not modern at all. It just shows that, like, you know, people have always existed, and here's how they adjusted to that, to a traditional lifestyle. And I've really, really enjoyed this book so much. Like, there's so much to enjoy about this book. I am so tired. I am bad with points. I really just wanted to tell everyone I knew that this book is fantastic. I really feel that unless you were in Cersei for the capital L literature, that I really think you're gonna love this book, and you should positively go get it. Yeah. The other book I read is Casey McQuiston's I Kissed Shara Wheeler. So this is YA, which I've never read any of their other books. I didn't think they were YA. I have no idea, actually. I thought they were like adult romance or something. This one is YA, my first Casey McQuiston book. And here's the thing. So I'm just gonna go like this. So this is me reading the book. Is this Paper Towns? Is this fucking Gone Girl? Okay. These kids are really fucked up, okay? Anyway, so like, so this book is really complicated. It's not Paper Towns. It's not Gone Girl. It's like, there's not anything it's like. It's a book that like legitimately takes your expectation and just because when I started this book, I was like, these kids are all really freaking annoying and I hate them and I don't know if I'm going to make it through this book. And by the time that I got to the end, I'm like, these complex, complicated, and sometimes annoying people are people and deserve to be, right? So the book is about essentially about this girl who moves to Alabama after living in California and ends up with this nemesis, sort of. They're both trying to be valedictorian at this incredibly Christian school. One of them, Shara, is the principal's daughter, Christian, perfect. The other, Chloe, is imperfect, a little scary to everybody, out, which is part of why she's scary. The daughter of the only person who also has ever come out, or at least the first person who ever came out in the school. So they go to this like Christian school, which, by the way, if you're wondering like whether or not it's realistic to go to a Christian school if you're a gay kid in Alabama, I will tell you this is completely and totally out of date knowledge, but my friend from Alabama absolutely went to private school because there was no way in heck that her parents were going to send her to public school in Alabama. It's just like pretty much not done if you're a smart kid. So admittedly, very out of date. I am an old, but I did not blink an eye. Like, if you want a good education, you go private there, and that is how I've always known it. Actually, my friend went to the same school as John Green. They kind of knew each other, but like not really. And so yeah, so like basically it's prom and Shara disappears, like just gone. But unlike some other things, there isn't like a big super duper mystery. she's left all these notes. So there isn't like a, oh my God, is she dead? Which, can I just tell you how sick I have been of dead teenagers? So like, thank God. That's the only reason I read this in the first place. That, and I was like expecting some sort of cute love story, but like apparently this girl went around like kissing a couple people beforehand, including a girl and like the local bad boy. Now, of course, I'm reading this book before it comes out. I was a little confused about like who was who and like legitimately like what race everybody was, because some of the descriptions were like weird. Like someone was described as being black and like, but like the only black kid in school except for one other person. But then like this other character I thought was described as black, but that could have just been me like not realizing who was who at first. This is very confusing. I don't know if that was an arc thing or if it was just a me reading poorly thing, but at first I thought the other two kids were black, and I don't know that that's true. Because they specifically say, it was just me and this other kid, who is not one of those two. Confusing, but whatever. Anyway, the whole story is they've got these notes. It's the boyfriend, the next door neighbor, bad boy, the girl, competition. They've got these notes and they're running all over the place the last couple weeks before finals and graduation to figure out where she is and what she's doing. And like, why did she kiss them all? And so you're in your like towns phase, but like the longer it goes on, the weirder it gets. And then there's sort of a series of turns that I'm not going to give away, but like I'm joking about the Gone Girl thing, but like the book changes. It is not Paper Towns. It doesn't have anything to do with Paper Towns. It's not a Paper Towns ripoff. I don't care how many people on Goodreads are like, is this just Paper Towns? If they quit out because they found the characters annoying, fine, like, cool. But they're missing the point of the book. And the point of the book is like really close to the end. And so if you read it and you don't feel like you can make it towards the end, that's fine. The kids really annoyed me in the beginning. They definitely feel almost too much like everybody's a TikTok kid. Like, I worked with teens. They don't all talk like that. It was really weird to me that everybody sort of felt the same at first, but it evens out as it goes on. Like that's probably the biggest criticism I have of the book, was that at first everybody sort of felt like they had the same, I guess it's not personality and it's not way of talking, but it definitely has like the same, like I watch a bunch of kids on TikTok, but you have to remember like most kids are the audience of TikTok. They're not the kids making the TikToks. Like there's a very specific kind of person who's willing to put their life online. Wait, did I just... No, I'm not putting my life online. I'm just talking about books. So yeah. I really enjoyed this book, sort of against my will. I felt like the author started in one place and took me somewhere that I didn't want to go, and I'm very grateful actually for it. Yeah. So I Kissed Shara Wheeler is the book. Casey McQuiston is the author. And those were the two major books that I read last week. I am struggling through a book now, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Because I'm not done it. And I'm keeping things positive right now because I don't feel great. And I deserve to have nice books. Just have one thing in my life that's just all nice. Oh, speaking of things that are all nice, did not read this, but have read her other books, and they are excellent. But Heartstopper dropped on Netflix, and you should positively watch it. It is adorable. I watched it before I got sick. Meant to only watch part of it because it is not as stable of a camera as I was hoping. Some episodes are, some episodes aren't. I really hate having, I guess it was multiple directors or something. Or maybe it was location. I have no clue. But I watched the whole thing in a row. I did not mean to, but I was in bed. It's fine. I can close my eyes whenever I want. So, like, it is precious. It is absolutely precious. It is about these two boys who are assigned to sit next to each other in whatever British homeroom's called, form, I guess. I guess it's homeroom. And one is out and, you know, gay and has just spent the last year being bullied and is sort of in a nice lull where the bullying has kind of eased off. And the other is a perfectly nice rugby player, popular, handsome, whatever, and they immediately strike up a friendship. And that changes things for them because neither one of them really expected it, and just immediately the gay kid gets a crush on his friend and just looks at him like with these like puppy dog eyes. It's really adorable. And there's so many good things about it. It does, if you Google it, you'll get to the author site and all the content notices are there for the books, and that's the same for the show, I believe. It's really precious, but it also has some other things going on with it in terms of like mental health, and I think that it's really soft and kind about it too. Like you can almost watch it and like not get the message about mental health, which like almost made me feel like, but that's okay. Like it's there. It's definitely there. And I think we all need a little softness sometimes when it comes to stories. Like, I don't think that everybody needs to be hit over the head all the time with all the dark places that we can go with our heads. And sometimes there are things that are bad and they don't need to be portrayed as like the worst thing in the whole entire world, because sometimes mental illness isn't like this horrifyingly dark, miserable, sometimes it's intrusive thoughts or repetitive actions, or like it's just, or sometimes it's like from the outside it can look silly or small or whatever, and so that's why I'm like, but also, anyway, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Told one of my friends about it. They loved it. So I'm telling everybody about it. I think it's great. I thought it was so good. I just thought it was so good. I feel like I've been just doing so well in terms of just picking things to watch lately. Like Severance was so good. Our Flag Means Death was so good. Did not expect that one. But there's no books attached to that, so I haven't really mentioned it. And now I don't know what to do with myself until Ted Lasso comes back. And there are no books for that either. I got things to read anyway. There's still like 4 more books left for my May 3rd. Oh god. So many books. Maybe it's only 3 now. I'm not sure. I gotta finish this thing. It's so bad. It's not bad. It's just could be better. It could be better. But so could everything. You know?